You're listening to Bigfoot Society podcast, hosted by our captain, Jeremiah Byron, where it's all Bigfoot all the time. Have you ever had the urge to do more, to be more? Now you can by joining Bigfoot Society on the Patreon. Get ad-free episodes and even member-only episodes. Take part in movie night and even live video chats. Interact behind the scenes with Jeremiah and other Patreon members like me, Leia. The powerful podcast goes on, and you may contribute a verse in our Patreon community. Carpe diem. Seize the day, Bigfooters, and make your lives extraordinary.
Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show. All right, Bigfoot Society, I've got the privilege of talking to Bear today. Bear is an individual that has had many years interaction with the hairy people, but I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself. So how are we doing today, Bear?
Oh, doing great, Jeremiah. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. So feel free to share with the listeners what we should know about you, Bear, and then we will get right into it after that.
Okay, excellent. Well, I consider myself, because they've adorned me one time in particular, and I've been introduced to them up at Tule River. It's a reservation up here above Porterville. And my first encounter with them was during an elder ceremony that I really was intrigued by the hairy people since I was little, but I never really knew of them. It wasn't up until I went camping. It was about 1 or 2 in the morning. I got there really late because there was going to be an elders gathering up in Tule River. It was up in Camp Chololo. And Chololo means white mountains. Chololo means white, of course. So Chololo Mountain campground we went to. So I set up tent real early in the morning, and I didn't realize that I set up tent right there on the road, because of course it's all dirt road. And I was so in a hurry to get myself camped up and set up. So just trying to get me some rest, because I was really exhausted. It wasn't until maybe an hour or two, when I was getting my rapid eye movement, feeling a little comfortable there, I was literally grabbed from my shoulders. And I was trying my best to see what it was that was grabbing my shoulders. And every time I looked over to the right to look behind me, I was literally pushed by the hand that was holding on to me on my shoulders. And I looked to the left again to try to see if I could get away with looking out to the left of me, behind me, and then I was again hit the side of my head. By then I got the idea that the hairy man that was literally kind of handling me literally didn't want me to see his face. I was pushed up. I was literally being pushed and pulled forward on this path that we call the Tule Road to get up to Chololo, because I was already there at the campsite already. Well, they pushed me up a little bit further and further. A big tree. It was a sugar pine, because sugar pines out there are very obvious because they have such big branches, and there's so much separation between the branches and the foliage. But in between all those branches, I had seen hanging body parts. I seen feet, I seen hands, I seen legs and arms and torsos, but I didn't see one head of a human being. But I knew they were obviously human parts. So the mental telepathy that the hairy man, and that's probably why they call them the quiet ones, he literally spoke with me and told me if I decided to do evil or be wronged or wrong in any way to the mountains or to their people, then I'm obviously going to be end up the same predicament that these people were placed in. Well, I was kind of shaking there a little bit, And I was very nervous about it because obviously I was thinking to myself, well, I'm not an evil person. So whatever intentions you guys have to show me these things, I was very intimidated. By then, of course, I was that much more feared in my heart. My heart was racing, and I was very uncomfortable. But with his soft voice, I felt a voice of comforting to not fear what they had showed me. But then yet they're still trying to get me a little excited, I guess. I don't know, a little bit intimidated. We'll say intimidated. That, of course, their business was to literally wipe out evil, and evil people that are doing evil things there up in the mountains like that. So that was obvious that I was placed at that level. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I'm not going to be evil. I'm not going to do anything wrong. I know my future, or what they have shared with me. They told me, hey, as long as you keep doing what you're doing, we'll be okay with you. But we're going to show you around, because there was other ones there kind of hiding in the bushes and watching me. But it was the biggest one of them all that it kept leading me through like this. Well, later on earlier that morning, they walked me back to the campsite and put me back into my camp, my little tent, that little pop-up tent I had. But I woke up later on that in the morning and looked at the path that I was on. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm parked and tented right there in the middle of the road. So I knew then I had to get off that road, because obviously that was also a path for the hairy people as well. So after I went to the ceremony, I didn't want to share anything out loud to anybody, because I was kind of feeling like maybe the other natives are going to look at me really, really crazy, and I didn't want to mention it because I was very intimidated that whatever they shared with me was only between me and them. I said, okay, we'll go ahead and do that. Go ahead and keep to myself. And I mentioned that we did sweat lodge and ceremonies. There's dancers there. We had a sweat lodge. We do, they call it here in California. And of course, I participated in all these things. I chopped wood and I helped out the elders. And of course, I was very comfortable there after the fact. But it was only until a month or two after that, I was introduced to Jenny Franco. She was the medicine woman. We'll call her the spiritual leader, female spiritual leader up in Tule. We started attending her sweat lodge, her ceremonies there at her place. And one day, me and a few other friends were talking and gathered around each other. And we're speaking about the hairy man. We kept on calling Bigfoot. And we're saying it out loud. The Bigfoot this, the Bigfoot that. By surprise, overheard our conversation, and she literally kind of spoke out loud. Don't you ever call him that B word. And we all looked at each other. You're talking about Bigfoot? She goes, don't say that word again. And I'm like, okay, well, scratching my head, like, okay, well, Grandma Jenny, what should we call them? She goes, you can call them Sasquatch. You call them the red eye. You call them the quiet ones. You can call them the hairy people or the hairy man. And so by then I was like, okay, well, I need to be a little bit more respectful, because obviously she's one of my teachers. I need to learn this from my elders, the things that I've been wanting to learn, because obviously I was still very young. Give or take, I think I was like only 25. No, I'd say like maybe 21 years old, between 20 and 21. And right now I'm 59 years old. So this was 30 plus years ago. And so she sat down with us. She told us, well, this is what the red eye are all about. The hairy people are all about. If you're evil and you do wrong, they've been known to come down and get you and literally cut you to pieces and decapitate you. And they'll hold your body parts, and they'll smoke them, they'll cure them, and they'll eat you. And they'll consume the whole entire body of the human that's evil, that are wrongdoers. I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. That she's telling me the things that the hairy people were telling me months prior to her sharing this with me. She calls them the quiet ones, because they will be very, very quiet and still, and they'll literally creep up on you, and you won't even know that they're there. But they're there that much closer than you even know. And at night, if you're out there late at night without a flashlight, or you don't have proper source of being able to see during the dark, you'll be able to see them red eyes, just glaring at you. And of course, she's mentioning all these things, why they call them the hairy people, and why they call them the quiet ones, and why they call them the red eye. By then, I still didn't want to share it out loud because I kept thinking, well, maybe this is kind of crazy. Maybe I shouldn't share this with Grandma Jenny Franco. That this is obviously whatever it is she was sharing with me months later was exactly what the hairy people, what Sasquatch is literally sharing with me already. So she was referring to all the information and kind of backing up the story of what the hairy people were showing me at that moment. And of course, months later, I no longer call them the B word. And I tell people, please don't use that B word. And I also throw it on the internet, don't use that B word. And they're like, well, why not? We can call them Bigfoot. I'm like, no, it's very derogatory, and the hairy people don't like it. It's also ignorance on our part that we really don't know them by the hairy people. These things that I started sharing out loud, I started realizing that the hairy people had literally shared them with me already. In many years to come, I've actually started running into more elders up in Tule, and I was mentioning the Eddie, the hairy people, and had one elder. His name was Leonard Manuel, and he was the father to J.R. Manuel, which was my teacher. He helped me during my vision quest up there in Yosemite. When I was about 23, 24 years old, years later, I decided, and I talked to Raymond Stone. He was our medicine man or spiritual leader. He's Raymond Stone Eagle, full-blooded Paiute from Lone Pine. He literally took me under his wing, and he started teaching me the bear medicine, bear spirit, bear medicine. But it was like years after I met the Sasquatch and the hairy people that I was having these dreams, ongoing dreams, and I almost seemed like they're almost nightmarish because I kept getting chased every night by these black bears. Well, there's a few other different colored bears that were there also, but one in particular was a black one. And it always chased me up a tree. And I'll be up there on top of this tree all night long, and the bears will be biting me, nipping me on my hiney or nipping at my heels. Never try to hurt me, but they always drew my attention all the time. So these encounters that I was having with the bear people, or we call them, the bears, the black bear here in this area in California, it happened and ongoing at least 3 or 4 nights a week up until I ran into Raymond Stone. And I told him, Grandpa, I need to talk to you about something I'm having problems with. Well, go ahead, young man. Go ahead, tell me. What is it? He used to call me the young fart. And he called himself the old fart. So there were some similarities between me and him that were very spiritually strong, which I didn't have any idea then until now. And he told me, and he started laughing at me. And I'm like, well, Grandpa, this is not funny. I'm having these ongoing dreams, even with Sasquatch and these black bears. He goes, he finally got a little serious. I go, Grandpa, please tell me what's going on here. He goes, well, first of all, if you've gotten encounters with the hairy people and also especially with the bears, it's because they love you. I go, Grandpa, if they love me, why would they, keep me up all night? Why do they keep chasing me around in my dreams? Or there's nights that are just unrested. I wake up, sweating or not knowing what the heck's going on here. He goes, I'll tell you what, and I'll be honest with you. He goes, because they love you. I'm like, well, is that true love? He goes, no, they want you to be a part of them. They see something good in you. They want to be in you, around you. They want to be all around you. They want you to be like them. And eventually you're going to end up understanding more about it when the time comes. So I go, well, Grandpa, how do I stop it? He goes, I'll show you how to stop it. He goes, every night you go to bed, get some tobacco offerings, make your tobacco offerings, and tell the Great Spirit or Heavenly Father, Creator, tell him, can you slow down a little bit and help me sleep at night? I still need my rest. And after that, it started kind of winding down a little bit. Eventually, I started seeing myself running around on my floors also in my dreams, where the bears were literally running side to side with me, and I was no longer being chased by them, but just being one with them. It kind of reminded me of American Werewolf in London, even the Wolfman, the werewolf man, that were seen himself running on his floors and catch himself in the zoo somewhere. But of course, I didn't find myself like that. I would usually find myself in the middle of the woods or out in the middle of a field somewhere out here in the San Joaquin Valley somewhere. And people would be pointing at me, look at the bear, look at the bear. And I'm like, I'm not a bear. And I look at myself, I'm like, oh, darn, I am a bear. It wasn't up until like just recently before Leonard Manuel passed away that we spoke about the hairy man again. And he was an elder, of course. He was getting ripe in his age. He didn't have that much time left, but I shared some stories with him. He goes, you know what you got to do? I go, what, Leonard? What should I do? He goes, leave them alone. You shouldn't be messing with those hairy people up there in the mountains. We know exactly what you're talking about, but you need to leave them alone. I looked at him very seriously, and I'm like, well, Leonard, I think, honestly, I think you need to tell them to leave me alone. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. I go, well, let me meet with you again, Leonard. Let's get a chance to meet up and have lunch with each other next week, and I'll show you some of my carvings, some of my drawings, and some of the things that they've left for me to share with others. So it was a week later, we met up in Tule, and we met at some little restaurant up there, a little dining place up there. And I showed him my drawings, I showed him my carvings, and he looked at me and he stared. And in some very soft voice, he looked at me and he goes, "You're right." He goes, "They don't leave you alone, do they? You do know them." I go, "Well, Leonard, not that I want to be disrespectful. I know that what you have and how the elders are here in Tule, we're supposed to keep our distance from them, and I get it, because obviously they're very aggressive, and the stories that go behind them, they could be very dangerous, but yet I found myself to be like family to them. Like I'm their best friend. They trust me. They've entrusted me to show others and to give other people a better understanding of their family qualities. And of course, dream after dream and other visions I've had, I've seen them literally get me closer to my children, closer to my family, and closer to myself, especially to myself, and start understanding more about the creatures up in the forest, and be more accepting of who we are as spiritual leaders. I heard a lot of the elders speak out loud on some of the things that I thought were mysterious or sometimes questionable. I don't know, Grandpa. That sounds kind of crazy. I don't know if I could believe that stuff. But eventually, with time being spent up in the Redwoods and other campsites that I spent at over there in Yosemite and up in the Redwoods, up in Balch Park, I started realizing they're there, and they're there with us. And I've been given the privilege to be able to feel comfortable up there with them. I've smelt their smell before, even as far as Tucson. I've heard their howling, and it's very nerve-wracking sometimes when you hear them, but I'm familiar with it, so it's not as fearful or intimidating as it would be for somebody else who doesn't understand them. And I've smelt their smell before, Tucson, Balch Park, and I've heard their howling over there in Yosemite. And I've had everybody looking at me all scared. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? I'm like, yes. Did you hear that? I've heard that. It kind of woke me up, and they're looking at me with their bug-eyed, and I'm just calm. I go, well, I've shared it with other elders as well. I go, well, this is their land. This is their territory, so they're just giving us a call, a little holler, let us know that this is our land. And we need to be more respectful, not only to the land, but respectful to each other. Because I felt that many times. I felt like I was an outsider. I was outside looking in, where in reality, what Grandpa, Jay Johnson, and even Bill Tucker, they come up to me a few times and tell me, because Yosemite is my first vision quest, this land is as much yours as it is ours. And it's as much yours as it is ours because you've done your vision quest up here in Yosemite. So this is your stomping ground. This is your land because you earned this. You sacrificed, you surrendered yourself to this land. And this is where the vision quest comes in at. And I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of us Native Americans when they speak of vision quest or the fasting thing that we do up there in the mountains. They literally think or stereotype the fact that we're just thrown up there and we're left out, to the pack of wolves. No, these fasting lodges are very, very important and very sincere. We take care of each other. Every morning we wake up, they would open up the door, ask you about your vision. How do you feel? They ask about your health. Yes, after the third day, I think I was crying already. By the third night, I was crying and I thought I was going to die. But I asked one of the elders there to sing a song for me. And he sang a Red Tail Hawk song for me because I literally requested it. I go, Harold, can you sing the Red Tail Hawk song for me? After the fourth day, I was able to make it. I told them, yes, okay, I'll be fine, because they asked me if I wanted water. I said no. They asked me if I wanted to go down. I said no. And they go, okay, well, what do you want? Well, Harold, sing a song for me, especially that Red Tail Hawk song you sang for me. And after that, I was able to endure it and pass through with another night, another day of literally torture, no food, no water up in the mountains, up in Camp Forest, up there in Yosemite. And these are the venues of that what makes us who we are as Native American people. But the hairy people, they've been watching us and they commune with us. They appreciate the fact that we're trying to be stewards of the land like they are, caretakers of the forest. Family, the endeavors of tending to family and yourself is encouraged by the hairy people. And I've had situations with my family, and the hairy people come into me in my visions and tell me, "Don't worry about it, Bear. We're here with you. We're part of your family. You're part of my family. So we'll watch over you. We'll protect you." So no matter where you're at, I've been shared with them that I'll be protected. Of course, it goes back to the venue, who we are as spiritual people, spiritual leaders that we are. We are going to be cared for by our Creator. People know him as God, a Jehovah, Great Spirit. But again, these creatures that our Heavenly Father's created, such as the little people, the hairy man, the Sasquatch, these are protectors of the land. But also when you get to the point of spiritual awakening, spiritual comfort, because it's not too comfortable at first to get to this level. But now I'm an elder. I'm considered a spiritual leader now and a spiritual healer. I do run the sweat lodge, and I do know that sometimes when I get myself into a situation like I did the other day here at this new job I've been given, I asked my Heavenly Father, I asked the Creator, if I can get permission from him to get the hairy people to help me. So I sang a song, and I did a prayer, made some offerings, and within less than 12 hours, the whole entire issue I had with this other coworker was literally resolved. Even before I even got to that point to be able to speak to one of the supervisors came up to me, and he's Apache. He looked at me, he goes, "Barry, don't worry about it. I heard what happened the night before last, and I'm going to take care of it. I took care of it already." But after I gave my offerings, and I shared this with Kevin One Spot up in Washington, and we shared the hairy people with each other. And I told Kevin, I go, "Kevin, your great grandfather was a medicine man, and he held a grizzly bear, and his medicine was grizzly bear. Where did you get that from, Bear?" And we're talking to each other on the phone. He's up in Washington. I'm over here in California. I go, "Listen, the Sasquatch you encountered when you were a little boy, they're still around you over there in your area." And he goes, I know they are. And I'm not as intimidated as I used to be when I was little." I go, "You're correct." I go, "The hairy people are just whispering in my ear right now. Tell me about your great grandpa being the medicine man that he is." He goes, "You got to be kidding, Bear." I go, "No, I'm not kidding." So the other day, I literally texted him on Facebook and messaged him and told him how I did this podcast prior to yours. At this point, I told him, after I gave the spokesperson that I am for the hairy people, I'm a steward also to their clan, because there's many clans all throughout the United States, Canada, even as far as Mexico. This protection of me being able to share this out loud to the general population now, I've gotten this really strong protection over me, because this is exactly what Sasquatch wanted from me. This is what they need from me. They needed for me to tell the general population this is who they are, and to represent them where I'm at right now, to even share this right now at this level with you, Jeremiah. It's very special. These are things to be able to get over the stereotyping, get over the endeavors of intimidation and fear. Of course, I know that people that go out there and look for them with these cameras and recorders, more likely they're not going to be shown. They're not going to show themselves. It's the people that go up there for wrong reasons, or they have something evil in their heart. They're so scared and so intimidated, they don't even go back up there and hunt anymore. But there's some that go out there and camp out there. They've been encountered by them, and they don't even want to go up camp up there anymore. That's when you know whatever that person was doing wrongly, or maybe there's something that wasn't right with them. My hairy people, my hairy family, the hairy clan, the hairy people clan, literally want to scare them off and not get them back up there again. Unless you're a spiritual leader and you can go out there and pray and fast and do that you need to do with the land and take care of the creatures like they're doing likewise, then maybe they'll be that much more accepting to you, and they won't intimidate you like they've done to many people. Apparently there's like 23,000 people missing right now, and I've heard the stats going up a little bit higher, but me and Kevin have spoke about it, and he told me the same likewise. He had some problems with some family members. He prayed over it, went outside, made his offerings, and told the hairy people out loud in prayer up in Washington, he goes, "I need some protection. These people are really doing me wrong," even my own family members. Within a month or two, or even just days after, something is literally moved around and something was changed. And after that, they were intimidated, or they were put in check, we'll say, and corrected for that reason. And now my brother Kevin goes, "Man, that's awesome, dude. You're so right. I'm getting protection just like you are because you taught me right, dude. You told me this is what I need to do with the hairy people." I go, "Well, Kevin," I go, "we're both Native Americans, so we need to share this information with each other like we used to do thousands and thousands of years ago. There's only just a few chosen ones at this point in our lives that are able to communicate with them, but there are also just a few of us that they're willing to communicate with and share with these endeavors and these teachings. But what I like to do today, like I've done with others, is share a song, and it's a prayer song, and I'll be able to give you an interpretation of what the song means. But I'm going to go ahead and share this out loud with you guys today. But I'm going to ask you, Grandfather Creator, for your help, your assistance. But first of all, before I get started, I'm going to get some white sage and smudge myself down, because I'm going to make sure that all that we do here is going to be done in a good way, that we're not in any way trying to intimidate anybody, nor oversee anybody or tell everybody what they should be doing, what they don't want to do, what they should do. We're not Presbyterians. We're not here to make people change. I'm here just to share that what it is that the hairy people have been wanting me to share with everybody, that this is a clan of family. They've been created way before we were created as human beings, and they were given the responsibility to take care of the things that obviously as human beings we're supposed to take care of a long time ago, but we forgot. And it's really sad that we've seen the land and the devastation by corporate for the wood and the product of wood everywhere throughout the whole entire world. Right now, Mother Earth and sacred Grandmother Earth, sacred Mother Earth and sacred Grandmother Ocean, and all the innocent creatures are literally being pushed further and further away and literally wiped off the face of the earth. And these are things that the hairy people and us spiritual leaders are trying to do our best to tell people, try to be more respectful, because one day they're not going to be here anymore with us, even our little puppies, even our little furry families that we have. So to protect them, to love them unconditionally, but also to protect yourself and love your family unconditionally is probably much more important as well. And maybe after you start learning how to do that, then it'll come out that much better for everybody, the general population. Oh, Grandfather Creator, bless this prayer song in a good way, and I'll be able to interpret this song and share with you that what's been shared to me by my elders and elders before them and elders prior to them as well. Grandfather Creator, bless this song, bless this prayer song, bless all this in a way. Yahi hey, yahi hey, ya ya hey ho hum, yahi hey, yahi hey, ya ya hey ho hum, yahi hey, yahi hey, ya ya hey ho hum, yahi hey, yahi hey, ya ya hey ho hum, yahi hey, yahi hey, ya ya hey ho hum, yahi hey, yahi hey, ya ya hey ho hum. Good morning, Yokach. Bless all my relations. When I say good morning, Yokach, I'm saying all my relations. And all my relations in reference to all the animals in our relations. We speak of that because we speak of all our relations, and we have respect for every creature and every living thing that's here with us. So these are things that are very important for us to recognize. Now, this prayer song was shared to me by one of the elders in our sweat lodge, in our mosh, our ceremony, our sacred ceremony. And she said this song was interpreted to her. At one time, there was a young lady that literally was being put in check, or we'll say the Western civilization was coming in, and some squatters came in and literally wiped her whole entire family out. She ran and hid somewhere where they weren't able to find her. But by the time that everything was done, and all her family members, her mother, her father, and all the brothers and sisters and the elders were literally just massacred. When she went back to the village and seen all this, she was devastated, and she felt so alone. And she cried and wept for days, didn't eat anything, didn't drink anything. And all this time, the hairy people were watching all this that was going on. Our hairy family came up to her after 3 or 4 days of no food, no water, and her tearing and crying and just so upset about what had happened to her and her family. The hairy people came up to her, and one in particular grabbed her by the hand and told her in her language, "Don't worry, all this that happened right now, we've seen all this from afar. We wanted to stop it from happening, but it happened so fast. But we knew you hid yourself, and we knew that you're going to be safe. You're going to be okay. Grab my hand, and let's dance and let's pray because you always have us as your family." And so this song right here that we sang was a song of happiness, and you're never going to be alone. We're going to always protect you. We're going to always be there for you. So they danced, and he kept on saying, "Ya he hey, ya he hey, ya hey ho hum, ya he hey, ya he hey, ya hey ho hum." So this was a very, very eye-opening experience for this young lady, and from that day forward, she was literally being protected by the hairy people. They fed her, they clothed her, they protected her. And these are stories, and I was told many times by other medicine people as well, especially by Anderson up in the Navajo Reservation. He had me in the sweat lodge, and it's dark in there, and it gets really moist because we throw water on the rocks, and it gets pretty hot in there. He looks at me, and I could tell he was kind of like staring at me. It's really dark in there. And something was going on there because he paused. He goes, "Turn that out, whatever you're smoking." I'm like, "Well, Anderson, I'm not smoking anything." "Well, whatever it is you're doing, turn it out." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't know what he's talking about." So he kept on chanting and singing his song, or prayer song, speaking of all the creatures, and every creature had something to do with building the sweat lodge up. So he went on and on and on about it. I think we went to the first round. That song was very long-winded. It was getting kind of warm in there. And he goes, "Okay, let's go ahead and take a break." He said his Navajo chant and his Navajo song and traditional things that he was talking about. We took a break. I opened up the door for him. We got out. We took a break. He goes, Bear Helper, I thought you're smoking something in there." So isn't that strange? I go, "Why would I want to be smoking something? I thought you knew that you can't smoke anything in here." He goes, "You're right." I go, "Well, why do you mention this to me?" Because well, I really thought you were smoking something in here, or you had a cigarette or something in front of your face, because I seen a little light in front of your face. I'm like, "All right." He goes, "But I looked back at you and the light got bigger." "Oh, okay." He goes, "It got bigger and it got bigger. And then when I looked back at you again, I seen a big bear." I go, "Well, Anderson, didn't I tell you my name is Bear?" I go, and I started laughing, of course, at him. He got really upset. He goes, "Well, I seen this big bear, and then I seen the light that was in front of your face. It literally appeared to be the bear that you are. And that light was who you are, right? That this is the light of the bear of the light. You are a bear." And I'm like, "Well, here, touch me." I goes, "I am a bear. Remember, they call me Bear Helper?" He didn't want to touch me. He goes, "I'm going to tell you something, Bear Helper. My grandpa told me about you people. He told me about you guys." He goes, "I thought it was a myth. I thought it was just a made-up story. And in assimilation to that, when we talk about the hairy people, they think it's a myth or just a made-up story." So in correlation to that, what he had told me, my grandpa shared all the stuff that you guys are all about. And I go, "Well, what did they tell you about?" Well, he didn't want to share that much detail because I already knew already. In some ways, us bear people are a little bit above and beyond the average of any medicine people or any spiritual leaders. He goes, "Yeah, my grandpa shared these stories about me, about you guys, and I thought it was a story. I thought it was a myth. And then when I met you, I said, this guy's Bear Helper. Yeah, okay, whatever. But when I seen you in the sweat lodge, and then I seen you as a bear, then I realized that it's true, isn't it?" I'm going, "Yes, it is." And I laughed again. He got upset again. And he goes, "What's so funny?" I go, "Well, there's still a few of us here in California. If you want to come out here to the bear ceremony, I'll introduce you to a couple of other of us bear people." And of course, he didn't want anything to do with it. But they do have a Navajo zoo out there in Window Rock, and they have a big plaque in front of the two bears that they have caged up in there. And they're two black bears. And the plaque spoke of us. how strong we are, how close we are to the spiritual world, how we're also able to shift change, but yet there could be a good one or a bad one, depending on what type of medicine you're working with. And I think that's what the hairy people were trying to tell me. Yes, we know you're a bear already, but yet you better be a good bear, not a bad bear. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to keep it good then. Let's keep it good. So since then, I used to go over to his office all the time and always come out and knock at his door and sit on his couch. You got anything better to do, bear helper? I go, no. I thought maybe I'll sit down here and shoot the breeze with you. But every time I seen him after that, he was very uncomfortable around me. So, okay, Anderson, I'll find something to do then. I'll go out there to the woods and cut some wood, and I keep myself busy so you don't feel so intimidated by me hanging out here. But these are things that us Native American people have always been about for thousands and thousands of years. Our endeavors of that, who we are in the sweat lodge, we have 4 rounds. The first round is for yourself. You pray to our Heavenly Father, Creator, Great Spirit. We know Him here in this area as Tripni, but we also know as Jesus Christ, the Star Child. His name is Wani. He walked the land here. The Hopis called him the Lost White Man. So his encounters with many other natives, even as far as the East Coast, they spoke of the Star Child that we're speaking of right now. So these are things that made us who we are, and to share these out loud with people like yourself, Jeremiah, and the general population, that there's a spiritual world out here. And there's something that some people don't see and don't understand. Things that do bump at night and things that you don't see, they can't hurt you. But in a good frame of mind and making everything good, the only thing I say to everybody is going to be up in the woods and they hear or they see the hairy people, make your tobacco offerings and tell them thank you for allowing us to be up here, or show some respect in some way to the creatures and to the land out there. Don't go out there just throwing out your trash and thinking that this is my land. Well, none of this land, we don't even have words in some of the tribes that we have land that we call our own. We don't own anything. Take what little you can take and don't take too much, and always leave something also in return, just a prayer, an offering of tobacco, even a little bit of the best food you like, put it on the floor right there and for the creatures to chew on a little bit, or something to just give back to show your appreciation of what's going on here. So I'm really glad that I can share this moment with you, because I know there's other incidences and many other stories and encounters I'd like to share with you, Jeremiah, because it hasn't stopped since the last 35 years. I would say every other year or maybe once a year, there's other encounters that I've shared with others and they've shared with me. But it's always been really good encounters. It's never shook fear in me where I can't come back up here anymore. No, I go up there more often now, knowing I feel much more comfortable up in the Redwoods than I would up there in the middle of the city there in Oakland or San Francisco for that reason. I think I have more fear of humans than I do the hairy people, because humans are unpredictable. The hairy people, as far as I'm concerned, they've already accepted me to be a part of their family, and they've helped me out a lot, and they've given me some incentive to see that life is much better living in a spiritual world than it is here living in the physical world. So the westernization has caused a lot of harm as well, because I believe religion, because these old ways that we practice is not religious. They're spiritual ways. It's how you live your life. How do you go about your life? How do you treat others? How do you treat yourself and your family members? That's exactly what the hairy people are teaching us. They're teaching us how they take care of themselves, how they take care of the land, how they take care of their family members. And these are things that are very important for us, Jeremiah, as spiritual leaders, and also as a spokesperson that I am for the hairy people. I speak very highly of them because they haven't done anything to me wrongly. They've just taught me the things that I need to learn, to teach others, to learn as well, to be better with themselves and better with their family members. Well, this is probably going to be many other stories we're going to share out loud later on in
Absolutely.
the future.
Can I ask you one question? I know our time is almost done, but
yes, go
one
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
Well, how should we, or what should we as non-Native Americans do if a hairy person reaches out to us through some form of communication, through a dream or a voice?
Just like I was shared by Grandpa Raymond and Jenny Franco, even if you don't smoke tobacco, get yourself a pouch of tobacco and pray to our Heavenly Father, our God, if you guys are God-fearing people, and show them some appreciation, show them some respect, acknowledge them. Hey, I'm just here. I'm a human being. I want to know a little bit more about you guys, but I also want to be respectful to the land and respectful to myself and others as well. It's very simple. Just out of respect, acknowledge yourself, acknowledge your family, and acknowledge your lifestyle to be a good, clean lifestyle, very respectful lifestyle to others as well of different nationalities. And the hairy people definitely will appreciate that. That's it. Just be honest.
It makes total sense. And you actually leave a little bit of the tobacco there where you are.
I have tobacco of my own. I made my offerings this morning, and I totally forgot about this interview we're going to have today. But when you sent me the message, I made my offerings earlier this afternoon, and I made sure that, and I even smudged down to make sure that whatever it is I'm sharing with you guys is going to be straight from my heart. One thing I do share with others, and if they do want my teachings or what I've been taught to teach them, I always tell them that whatever I've been shown, whatever I've been taught, I won't add on to it, nor will I take away from it. So most of the things I share with you guys, and even the general population at that level, I would never add on to anything and lie or conform something to my likings. I would share everything that I'd been shared with people like you as well, Jeremiah. There's nothing that's going to take me out of my way to make up something. Everything I share with you guys from this day forward was always going to be the truth. And always something that's exactly what was taught to me as well, even from the hairy people. There's nothing to add on to. I'm just going to share the facts and the truth of what it is that we're all about.
Bear, I appreciate you spending your time today and sharing some really important information with us, and for also sharing that song with us as well. That was a very special thing. Most of us would never have the opportunity to hear something like that. So I'm very thankful for you sharing that with us today.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I appreciate you allowing me to share this. You don't have the opportunity or the open window or the open door to be able to share with the general population, being where I'm at with myself. I don't go out in public view, and I'm not a spokesperson in front of thousands of people, but I have been a spokesperson for different venues like the International Industry Treaty Council and the National Lawyers Guild. That was like 40 years ago. But now when I look at myself, where I'm at as a spiritual leader and a spiritual healer, I'll be able to share this medicine. We call it medicine. I'm able to share this information of this medicine the way it was shared to me by Grandpa Raymond, by Jenny Franco, by Agnes Vera, and a few Matt Vera, and all the ones that passed on already. I'm able to share this, especially with like Eddie Sartucci. There's also where we're at as youngsters that we could still share with elders that still have an open mind to some of the things they've never been taught of, because there's still some venues of that what some of the spiritual leaders haven't been in contact with like I have. But it doesn't make me any stronger nor any smarter than them. It just makes me that much more capable of being able to accept what they can teach me that I don't know, that I can share with them the things that I don't know. They will share that with me open-heartedly, knowing that I don't know it all, Jeremiah. But whatever I do know, I'll be glad to share with you guys.
Absolutely. I hope
thank you.
Maybe someday we might be able to have another conversation. Bear, is there a way that people can reach out to you, or do you prefer just to be able to share things through this venue of coming on a podcast this way?
Well, for now, we can do this podcast thing. After the second or third interview that we get a chance to share more with you guys, that I'll be more than welcome, because I've shared this with the other podcasts. Eventually, I would love to get a group of maybe 20, 30, if not less than that, to be able to go up there to Balch Park, because it's exactly what the area people want me to do. No cameras, no recordings. I would probably look at everybody and make sure they don't have anything they're holding on to. But there would be a time where the hairy people tell me, if we can get them up there to Balch Park, because there's a gated community there, a gated area that we can actually camp out at. If they're willing to financially help us or help themselves to be able to get this place, I spoke with the ranger up there, and we can get a hairy man society up there and close the gates off and literally have a campsite there. We can all feed each other and have a sweat lodge, a ceremony, a dance circle, because I am a bear dancer, and bring some other dancers out there as well. But we can also have them be able to hear and maybe smell the hairy people up there. And I'm pretty sure the hairy people will be more than willing to present themselves in a very mellow level, because this is something that some people are going to have a hard time with. If you see some of the petroglyphs up here at Painted Rock, and also up here in Rocky Hill, there's petroglyphs up there. And in the petroglyph, they have the hairy man, the Sasquatch, right on top, and all the other creatures are below him. If you look at his picture and the way it's drawn out, it has like little patches underneath his eyes. And people always try to misunderstand it. Why do they have patches underneath its eye? Well, the patches represent kind of like a wet effect when you're teary-eyed, and them being so hairy that they are. When he was introduced to the human beings, and the human beings had to be encountered by him, or they've encountered, the human beings, the hairy man was very sad. And he cried. He cried for many, many days. If you look at the wife and the children that are next to him, they don't have the same patches under their eyes like he does. He was sad, Jeremiah. And I'll tell you why he was sad. He was sad because human beings were afraid of him. And he didn't want to be afraid. He didn't want everybody to be afraid of him. It wasn't his intentions. He didn't want anybody to be afraid of him. He wanted everybody to be respectful to him, like we would be to our neighbor, or that we would be to other cultures throughout the world. But that's not so true. The way things are going on right now, there's so much disrespectful things going on, even with people of their own nationalities. And at that time, of course, when the hairy people got a chance to encounter us and we encountered him, we were afraid of him. And it made him cry. It made him sad. But again, he doesn't want to be sad anymore. He wants to be happy, to be able to be in all the clans or throughout the United States, especially here in California and up in Canada, all throughout the areas of the United States. He wants everybody to know him as a family man, as a steward of the land, as a steward of the creatures, a steward of loving people, God-fearing people. So these are things that are very, very simple, but yet in society, as complex as it is right now, it's making it very difficult for some of us to share these things out loud without somebody saying, oh, he's full of crap. He's BSing us. He's lying. No, I wouldn't lie anything. That what I told you earlier, Jeremiah, I'm not much into getting into these lies or made up stories. I'm telling you guys the truth. And I'm happy that I got a chance to share this with you. And yes, I would love to do a couple more encounters, because there's so many encounters I've had with them that, yes, I'm open to it, Jeremiah. So whenever you're ready, we could do this another couple months from now, or maybe less than that. I have other encounters and other stories with you, and they're pretty bizarre, and they're out there. But I've had other people around me that was able to, hey, Bear, I've seen him. I'm like, yeah, of course, I knew he was there. But again, to be able to get these people together, maybe 3 or 4 years from now, and go up to Balch Park. I have permission from one of the rangers up there, and we could probably get a group of us that are, maybe financially fit, are able to financially incorporate this, because we could spend a whole week up there and they won't charge us a penny to stay up there. But we're looking at food and water and stuff like that, because there's no running water up there. By then, I'll be able to have a little bit more financial assistance to be able to take water bins up there, and we'll have water there to last us those days that we're up there. But this will be an encounter that maybe eventually, maybe you can also join with us too, Jeremiah. You can sit there with us, and we can be around the campsite, get into the sweat lodge. You see a beautiful bear dance going on, a little ceremony going on. And all of a sudden, late at night, you can hear these hairy people howling, and the hairy people are joining in. I'm pretty sure not going to be rubbing elbows with us. Who knows? Maybe they will. But again, people probably run up the hills and it's like, the Sasquatch is getting me. No.
Yeah, you never
know.
Right?
But we wouldn't know that. I'll be telling, hey, come on, calm down, you guys. There's a little bit too much excitement going on here.
Right.
If anything, I'll probably warn everybody, hey, just calm down, you guys. They're going to come around here, and they're going to probably hoot and holler and knock a couple of trees, and they want to make sure that you guys know that I didn't pay anybody to go up there and do that. They're the ones that wanted you guys to come out here, so that way all your curiosities, your ignorances, and your demeanors of that what you wanted to look for, you're finally able to find it. Without the cameras, without the recordings, without the, these green light or red light effects that they could see it late at night or whatever. I don't want that to happen. Matter of fact, the hairy people already told me already, if these people come around and they want you to do this and that and this, refuse them. Or if not, put all their stuff in a locked bin and tell them you can't use this stuff until after we're done. And even then, after that, they'll go up there to their village and they'll be laughing about how this little bear, our little bear clan man, bear helper literally brought these people up here. We're able to, hang out with these folks for a little bit from a distance, because they say sometimes you have to love people from a distance. Jeremiah? So I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the hairy people want to do. They want to love you guys from a distance.
Well, Bear, it's been a great start to what sounds like an extended conversation. So thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate you spending your time with us today.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, too.
Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's a list. If you've had any encounters in Oregon, which I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there, please feel free to reach out immediately. You can use email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.